Are you ready? High voltage is upon us. Join our hosts, Chris and Sean, while they turn up the voltage.
Welcome back to Dadnarok High Voltage. This is Sean.
And this is Chris.
May the 4th be with us all.
Oh, it's one of the most glorious holidays for us nerds.
I can't believe it's stuck. I only first heard about people doing this as kind of a joke within the last, few years, maybe 5 years or so. But it's like every year it gets more and more like, well, no, this is official. It's Star Wars Day.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not shocked by that. I mean, come to think of it, it's become a cash cow.
Yeah.
I mean, now they release like specific Legos on those days, and we release now shows on those days. They make sure that it's an actual up and coming thing.
Yeah, even like merchants, I buy T-shirts or whatever from these companies, like the one we go through, like TeePublic and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have Star Wars related designs on sale, so it's just another day excuse to celebrate something. Let's keep it going. I love it. I'm a Star Wars fan though, so I would love it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But what are we? What do we do? What are we about?
People don't know already. Come on. Well, we're Dadnarok. We have a YouTube channel. We do a lot of vodcasts. If you don't know what that is, it's a video podcast. If you don't know what a podcast is. But yeah, we had dadnarok.com. Go ahead and check us out. We have past episodes of our audio podcast that we put out. It's available on all podcast platforms, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, all Spotify, everything. And we have a YouTube channel that we're trying to grow. So if you haven't liked us and subscribed to us on YouTube, just go ahead and do that right now. But other than that, we're just dorky dads who love talking Star Wars.
There we go. So what do you say? I mean, let's talk some Star Wars. We talked about them releasing shows now on May 4th. They released the Bad Batch, Clone Wars, the Bad Batch.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the Bad Bath.
The Bad Bath.
I've never had a bad bath in my life. They're all great.
Oh, I don't know about it anymore. Man, but I was looking forward to this one. This was one of the ones that was like, I was all about, because I love the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Even when they brought it back and they gave it a real ending, I was bummed when that was over. So when I heard that they were doing the Bad Batch, I was like, well, we kind of felt that they were going to. The way that they gave us them within the final season, it felt like they were setting something up before they even announced it.
Yeah, it was definitely an introduction to characters they wanted to explore further. You don't introduce characters like these and then only have them in 2 to 3 episodes and then that be the end of it.
Yeah, no.
It was definitely worth it. And you and I got vibes of it being like, oh, it could be cool if we actually follow their adventures post Order 66. And it turns out, it seems like that's exactly what this show's going to be.
Yeah, no, it was cool seeing them with, everyone with the Jedi, then them coming in and, cleaning things up.
Yeah.
But real quick though, did you catch who that young Padawan was that ran away?
Kanan.
Yep, that was Kanan Jarrus. Yep. Yeah. I didn't catch it originally, so I was watched it back. It's like, hold on, something. The Jedi's name, I can't remember off the top of my head. But I was like, the master. I was like, okay, wow.
His master, yeah. I forget her name too, but she's got very distinct those like little beads or jewels that are up above her nose.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw her, I was like, I recognize her from somewhere. And then as soon as he came on screen, and I could tell it was Freddie Prinze Jr., and they just like pitched up his voice a little bit. It was cool, man. I've actually seen Kanan's Order 66 interaction in the comics before, and the Bad Batch, they weren't there. So I guess this is the new canon. It's official because it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that, tying in the Bad Batch with Kanan's Order 66?
I love all of it. Because what they did now is, depending on how far they go forward, we may see, Kanan as, the wandering like Jedi, like not knowing where he is, when he's kind of still fighting with what he is.
Yeah.
That interaction. So we don't know how far, if they're going to like do a little period of time and then jump like 10 years or so, and then we'll see him as a teenager, essentially. He'll probably be about 18, 19, based on, about the age he was here in the first episode. He was probably about 8 or 9, maybe.
Yeah, we're like early teen vibes. I kind of got like a 12 or 13-year-old vibe with him. But either way, like, yeah, if they could definitely introducing him here in the pilot episode, I can see them like bringing him back and here and there kind of running into him. That'd be cool by me.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of the runtime? I mean, that caught me off guard.
Yeah, that was cool. Well, it felt well. I had Christopher here, you know him, Jasmine and Christopher. He
Yeah.
came over and we watched it. It was these things I usually watch pretty early in the day if I
Yeah.
can, either before work or during my lunch break. But I purposely like held out and we watched it about 8 o'clock or so it's still fresh. But anyway, yeah, the runtime it felt they were able to take their time with it, so it felt like a movie. Like it was
Yeah,
nice.
that's very true. Now, I got and when it first came on, my inner like Star Wars nerd freaked out
Yeah,
because when they opened it just like any other Clone Wars episode
they did.
with the
Yeah,
narrating and what's happened in the past and what's going on now, and then they go into the episode. That whole thing, it just gave me chills and like it had me amped and ready to go.
got you pumped, didn't
It
it?
got me pumped, and when they're mentioning names and they're mentioning the Grievous and all this, I'm like, and then Obi-Wan fighting over on, they may have apprehended. I was like, and then the whole Order 66 takes place, and you see it like in the back, you see Emperor Palpatine right there saying, execute Order 66,
Yeah.
and then it all just kind of falls apart on them.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too because it was like almost like the Clone Wars narrator version of the events leading directly into Revenge of the Sith, which was very cool. And yeah, I mean, getting to see Order 66. I mean, we saw it in the trailer, so we knew that it was coming. I thought maybe they were going to take more time with it. We'd see maybe a few episodes before that lead into we see Order 66 maybe in episode 3 or 4 or something. But they crammed a lot of stuff in this front episode.
Well, we've now seen Order 66 being told to be executed at the exact same time in 2 different locations now. So we've seen it planetside here, but we also seen it with Ahsoka on the ship. So now we're seeing how all these clones, basically turned on the Jedi right there and then, which I'm loving seeing that because we never got that angle.
Yeah.
And now that we're getting it from multiple characters and multiple different, locations, it just, I don't know. I enjoyed the snot out of that.
You know what I liked too is how it was answering questions like within the episode. Like just for instance, the sharpshooters. I don't have character names up here. I know Hunter. Crosshair, yeah. How we were thinking like, oh man, there's something up with Crosshair. Like I wonder if there's going to be a split, and we see it in this episode. Or Omega, they meet on Camino. So like, oh, I wonder. There seems to be something up with her. I wonder
he's
if
the fifth one.
Yeah, and in my head it was like, I wonder because I knew that Echo wasn't one of the Bad Batch initially. Like he's only an outcast because of his mechanical robotic parts or whatever. But he was a reg before that, so I knew there was something off about. Well, we have 5, and the fact that they pointed it out and they confirmed it within this episode, like they were just like going and going. It was cool.
It just kept rolling. It didn't leave too much to linger. Now, what I really want to know is, I don't think Crosshair stays apart from him. So if something happens when they went ahead and they beefed up the chip, his actually like his inhibitor chip or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Something is going to go wrong there. Like he's going to snap out of her or something. But
yeah, I didn't think so. I didn't think so at first until they had that scene where Omega specifically talks to him and sits down with him in the jail cell. And she's like, I know it's going to happen to you, and I just want you to know it's not your fault, that kind of thing. I knew, well, they're just laying the tracks for a redemption here. There's going to be a standoff eventually where that inhibitor chip is malfunctioning again. And that's cool. We got that answer right away because you and I were talking about, like, I wonder what's up with the Bad Batch as far as Order 66 goes. Is it just like, did they have their chips removed, or is it because they're genetic defects, like they weren't implanted in there to begin with, and they answered it like this episode. Like I said, like they're moving at a rapid pace.
Yeah, they flat out said it was just a mutation.
Yeah,
and it never took.
Right.
So, but one of them, I mean, Crosshairs was there, and it took a little bit. It took a
little longer to kick in, but
well, yeah, but when he was always like, when orders were given, he was like, shouldn't we, it was enough for him to question.
Right.
But I feel like it was that was the one little glitch for me because I feel like they were always saying, well, you were the first one to say not to follow orders.
Yeah.
Why is he all of a sudden so like dead set on following orders before they zapped the chip and gave him?
Yeah, it seems like it took a while for them to get the full, idea. Like, oh, there's something wrong with him with Crosshair. Hunter got it right away, I think, because
Yeah.
Hunter was giving him sideways glances the whole episode
Yeah,
since
from
Order
when
66 took place.
Yeah, from when Kanan's character jumped over, the cannon, he said he
Yeah,
fell.
he was like,
and
"What are you doing? Since when do we follow orders?"
yeah,
But I mean that makes sense because Hunter has elevated perception, right?
Yeah.
So out of all the group, Hunter probably would be the first one to kind of notice those kind of things. But yeah, just the plot and the story, like they really kicked it in a high gear, man. Like I was enthralled from the get go. Like each time when they went to Camino, and it was kind of like their home base, and we saw the big, I forget, I guess the Caminoans, right? How well
Yeah.
they did those. With
what
the
would you think
voice
when
and
we
the
seen
speech pattern.
Tarkin when he sat down?
Oh,
It was
man.
like, that contract you had was with the Republic. It's now the Empire now.
Yeah.
So it's like null and void. Yeah. And how he was kind of throwing around his weight.
Yeah. I loved it, and I loved how consistent it was with Tarkin's character. Like I've read more about Tarkin in I know you've read more about him in like the novels, and I've read more about him in the comics and stuff. Like Tarkin's a serious badass. Like you get to learn that Darth Vader respected Tarkin because Tarkin was like that much of a badass. That's why in the New Hope, like he kind of like it looks like Tarkin is giving Vader orders, which is kind of weird considering the rest of the trilogy. Like I wonder why he followed Tarkin that much, but it's because like Tarkin would like go back to his homeworld and like set himself in the jungle and like be attacked by like vicious alien jungle cats and come out and survive, and like he was hardcore. Like when he took off his Imperial uniform, it was just like scars from head to toe. And he would be the type to really prefer regular people over these clone troopers, and he would be the type to, I guess, recognize and acknowledge and I guess appreciate these troopers that were doing things outside the lines. You know what I mean? They were doing whatever they could to survive, which is what Tarkin is all about with his plan. You fall in line when you need to, but when you're in the battlefield and the heat of things, you do whatever it takes to get the job done.
And we've seen how much of an outsiders like group they were too, even within the regs when they were in like the chow hall.
Yeah, it was like high school.
Yeah, and then I love the muscle guy. Oh man, I can't think of his name.
Wrecker, I think.
Yeah, Wrecker. Yes, I think he's my favorite one because he's just a meathead. He just wants to beat things up and blow things up and be done with it.
Right.
I mean, all the characters. I don't think there's one dud character amongst all of them.
No, I like them all because they're very distinct. I mean, they have, kind of tropey standard attributes. Like the whole time I'm like the tech guys like Donatello, and we got the leader, we got the hothead, we got the fun one. There's those stereotypes that go across media, but I don't mind it here because it's like a shortcut. Like I know these characters right away. Like, okay, well, this is their dynamic. And I always love seeing like small crews that specialize in certain things get the job done. That's fun for me. I like seeing that kind of thing.
Now, I kind of went on IMDb and kind of checked out the episode like guide or list on how many they're going to be. I think it said 16 episodes.
Oh, okay.
Do you think we're going to get 16-hour-long episodes, or do you think they basically gave us 2 episodes in one today?
Yeah, I think this upfront one was just like the premiere, and they had a story that they wanted to tell to get us sucked into the narrative, which I think it did a good job.
Yeah, very much so.
I think going forward, it'll probably be your standard like Clone Wars episode length, I think.
About 20 to 30 minutes. I don't think they really touched 30 minutes. Usually it's about 20 to 25 minutes, I think it was.
Right. But that being said, we are exclusively on streaming now with Disney Plus. They used to be 22-minute episodes because they aired on TV and you had to have commercials or whatever. But even I think with the final season of Clone Wars, like some of those episodes maybe drug into the 40-minute mark or a little bit more. So it just depends on what story they want to tell. But I think going forward, it'll be a little bit shorter. If they were each 70-minute episodes, boy, that'd be quite a bit.
yeah, that'd be a lot. That'd be giving us, which I won't complain at all. I'll find an hour to watch it.
Right.
Then sit down and watch it. It just caught me off guard. I was getting ready to put it on. I was like, oh, okay, I don't have an hour right this minute. I gotta wait and hold off and take Skylar to school and get my coffee, then they come back and sit down and get comfortable. But
Now, this is something that I brought up when I was watching the episode with Christopher, and I was like, I don't know. I'm hoping that I keep being interested in the story of these guys, and I'm not just like excited to watch these guys around the events of Order 66 and seeing Tarkin and the Kaminoans and the stuff that I recognize from the prequels,
yeah,
like right now we're surrounded by that stuff and it's cool, hey, there's Kanan and stuff like stuff that I know, but I know we're going to get into territory with a bunch of stuff that I just, I don't know, introducing new characters, things along those lines. Are you worried at all that it's not going to be able to hold your interest, given that we're not really surrounded by any main characters? Like the main characters of this show are still really fairly new to us.
No, I'm gonna say no, and the reason I'm gonna say no is I know the format. I love the format. The show, the way it's animated, the way it feels comfortable to me.
Yeah,
and maybe just because I'm such like Clone Wars is my go-to,
right.
but I also base that off of Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rebels was a series that we really knew none of the characters going into it.
That's true.
And after that first episode, we didn't get as much, but you fell in love with the crew. And that was fresh. We didn't get them any other time.
Yeah.
The Bad Batch here, we had 2 episodes in the final episode in the season of Clone Wars.
Right.
And now we're getting them again. So we're not like unfamiliar with this group of guys. So we know them. So I think there's always a danger, but I don't think it's a very viable one.
Okay. Yeah, I'm along for the ride, man. They did enough with this premiere to really, drag me into the story going forward. They mentioned, so they finally escape Camino, and they mentioned that they know a guy or whatever on this J19 section or something. Do you have any idea who they're talking about?
No idea. I
didn't
really
either.
don't. I wanted to look into it to see if I can maybe find a little bit of information on it, but
Yeah.
I rolled into the rest of my May 4th stuff, and I didn't actually look into it. Now, and something that just popped in my head. So you were talking about, familiar characters.
Yeah.
This is all happening the same line as like the final one. So Ahsoka basically covered her cow, dropped everything, and left.
Yeah.
Do you think at any point that they will somehow cross paths and she won't be carrying a lightsaber? She won't be the Jedi and everything we know she is now.
Right.
Because there's a whole series, there's a whole book about her where she was out just kind of helping other people.
Yeah.
And keeping her identity basically under wraps. So she didn't have the wrath of, the Inquisitors or anything else coming after her. And she faked her death.
I think there's a high probability of her dropping in for an episode or 2 here or there. I don't think she'll be like a consistent character, given that she has her own show, live action show coming. They probably don't want to like dilute that too much. But I mean, that's the thing about Ahsoka is like through this whole era, prequels into the original trilogy and even beyond, like Ahsoka's out there somewhere just doing her thing.
She's the most important character in Star Wars history.
Yeah,
I think I would put her in front of Vader and Palpatine. And because she starts before either, and she has continued beyond.
Right.
And she's still there. She is the one thread that's kind of been connecting old to new. So she's bringing, our parents who like Star Wars and then how we got into it. Yeah. And now beyond where our kids are now enjoying it. She's the one common denominator amongst all of it.
She is a nice bridge character for sure. Yeah, and people love when she drops in now. Very different from her when she premiered in the Clone Wars,
the original movie, the Clone Wars. Yeah.
People hated her.
She wasn't very liked.
No, she's beloved. But yeah, I think she will drop in. I mean, this is a Dave Filoni joint, and he loves putting her in everything. So,
or if anything, we just hear her call sign.
Yeah. If
we hear them drop her call sign on a communication that they intercept between her and Alderaan. You know what I mean? If it's something as small as that, I think there's going to be nuggets we're going to hear from the time frame. I don't know. I think that they left themselves open for so many great stories to be told. Yeah. And I want to know where they go from there.
It's cool too, having an animated show that is kind of premiering new episodes now. The way the live action stuff keeps expanding and expanding. not only with the sequel movies, of course, but you got the Mandalorian. You've got all the new shows coming out, including like the Cassian Andor show and all that. I mean, you've got like the Rogue One characters, you got the Mandalorian characters, you've got a whole bunch of like new groups of characters. People, hell, we may see like Bill Burr's character in here somewhere in animated form. Like we could, why not?
Yeah, right now they're connecting all the dots everywhere.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not a stretch to think that, which I love. That's the biggest thing I've loved since Disney has taken over.
Yeah.
Every character, every book, every movie, everything is intertwined. So when you're reading a book and all of a sudden a name pops up and you're like, oh, I know, and then you realize where it's from, and
Right.
just the excitement of knowing the connection, the excitement of seeing Kanan now.
Yeah.
You know, when he was young was awesome. Just little things like that. When Rex showed up in Rebels,
right,
that was awesome. So I mean, just all those connections is so much fun.
Yeah, that used to be a complaint with Star Wars. It's like, oh, they're shrinking the universe. Like, you know, in the prequels, how Anakin was the one to make 3PO. People were like, oh, really? Like, do you need to connect to everybody? Like, this is a pretty big galaxy that we're in. But now, the more that they introduce characters and the more stories that we get, I mean, like I said, we are introduced to a new cast of characters like every year almost. So it's starting to make more and more sense. Like, yeah, why not? Why wouldn't they run into this person that would be on this planet at this time? Sure, sounds good to me.
Yeah, Chris is saying, everything. Saul Guerrero.
Oh, it may be, considering that they did meet with him in the episode on, was it not Fallujah? That's not the name of the planet, is it?
I'm not sure, honestly.
Fallujah is a real place.
Yeah, I'm not sure the actual planet they met
It's
on.
that jungle planet that Ada Secura died on, the Twi'lek Jedi in Revenge of the Sith. A very colorful jungle.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm blanking on it, honestly.
Whatever, that's the one. But yeah, and he's another one, Saul Guerrero, where he kind of spans a long portion of time in between the prequel and original trilogy too. And he even dropped in Jedi Fallen Order. Do you remember that? Yeah, with that mission where you were going through that jungle planet. That was cool.
He's a very, I would sit through a show of his by himself.
Yeah.
I think his character, showing from where he was and what he was doing to how, like, demented is the wrong way to put it, but how disillusioned he became by the time Rogue One hit.
Oh, by the time Rogue One hits, he's just like, he's almost a gangster. Like, he's just kind of like Looney Tunes. But yeah, you kind of see that progression. Yeah. Throughout
that would be fun to see. I think there's a huge story to be told there. I don't know if they'll ever do it in any type of TV form, movie, or TV show, or even if they put it in a book form. I think that'd be fun to actually read or get into.
Yeah, that would be cool. So yeah, it may very well be him next episode. And
I almost forgot about the Saul Guerrero part.
I know. There's a lot that happened this episode. What's another thing? Oh, I mentioned Jedi Fallen Order. You've got Cal Kestis. He's going to be on that junkyard planet doing his business, trying to hide out for a while. They could very well run into him at some point.
Yeah, there's so many connections, and like you were saying, people were complaining about making the world smaller. I almost believe with how much they're putting out, they're making the world larger. The more they put out, and even if these characters do interact in some manner, the world is becoming larger and larger. You're getting more and more stories, from that point on.
Yeah. So overall, I don't know, man, pretty dang enjoyable.
Yeah, I loved every minute. I loved it when they were flying away at the end. They were sitting there and they were talking to the little boy. And when they had the little like little doll or like stuffed animal.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, is this yours? Like, because he was so mad when he was looking for his armor. Then you thought he was looking for his armor.
Yeah. But, well, you mentioned Omega. So Omega is the kid that they befriend this episode, and it is a girl. And I was wondering, at first I was talking to Christopher. I was like, do you think that maybe she's a clone, but she's just different because somehow they like cloned her and with genetics, like they changed her from a boy to a girl or something, and that's what makes her different. And then later in the episode, Christopher was like, what if she's actually like a clone of the clone? Like, what if she's a clone of the guys in the Bad Batch? Like, what if we find out that connection there? I don't know. There is something up with her. You notice throughout the episode, she kind of like mimics Hunter as they're like going through the
Yeah.
Camino stuff. She like, and you can kind of chalk that up to a kid being a kid and like being with her heroes or whatever. She wants to be like them. But later in the episode, when she picks up the gun, she uses that gun pretty damn
Oh,
well.
yeah, no, it was pinpoint accuracy. Took out, Crosshair's rifle,
Yeah.
and they moved. That's the only reason they got away.
Yeah, and so that was strange. Okay, well, you've never picked up a blaster before, but you were pretty dang good with it. And then when she hops in the co-pilot seat, and Tech is there, getting the ship taken off, and you watch her through her eyes, looking at all the, the pilot, the buttons and all the joysticks and stuff, almost as though she's like learning immediately just by looking at it. There's something special with this Omega kid going on. I think she was maybe bred to be like a super clone or something.
Yeah, she was the one I was concerned about. Like, I knew everyone else. I wasn't, because I knew of her going into the show because we've seen her in the trailers,
Yeah.
but I didn't know what to expect. And I mean, I still don't really know what to expect going forward, but I'm not there's no worry about it.
Yeah, there's a potential for this kind of, well, like, when they introduced Ahsoka, back in the day in the first,
Mhm.
Clone Wars, that was the complaint, like, oh God, here's an annoying kid. Do we really need an annoying kid Padawan for Anakin? Really? Is that what we need?
Yeah.
And everybody hated her, like this big, whiny, annoying voice or whatever. So there's always this potential of introducing a younger character and having it be kind of a, you roll your eyes kind of thing. But I didn't get any of that this episode. I was kind of invested in her character and was interested in seeing like who is she? Like the Camino person that ends up blocking the blast door from closing, was essentially, I think maybe she's a caregiver and almost like a mother figure to this clone.
Yeah.
To Omega. So I'm wondering if, like, what are her origins? Like, what are the Caminos? She's definitely a clone. So what were the Caminos doing that they created her? So she's got
I don't
an
think
interesting backstory, I
the
think.
clone troopers were the first clones that the Caminos made. I mean, they were making
Oh, that's
clones of
fair.
that was kind of their business,
Yeah.
and then they were then commissioned to go ahead and make the clones. So it's possible she's a clone of someone else that they may have been toying with. They may have been doing they're probably always trying to better their clones. So how do we do this? And they may have did something and it stuck with her, and
Yeah.
that's why they kind of kept her. But we don't. I mean, I bet you she's not even as young as she looks. I bet you she's a lot older than she actually looks.
Why is that?
It may just be an age thing. It may be like a different species. Like they may have mixed a couple things, and her aging isn't quite the same. Because when
Yeah.
she was walking around with the command, she didn't act like she was super young, but she acted
Right.
young when she was in front of Hunter and everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was just a kind of a front she was putting on there. I mean, I could be way off base. I mean, but
it's still early, right?
yeah, exactly. But overall, man, I mean, I loved it. I mean, I'm going back for more. I can't wait. I'm ready to see some more. I want to. Just the opening is enough for me. When it showed the Clone Wars and it burnt away, and it
Yeah.
went to the Bad Batch, and then the narration. I mean, they could have just gave me that in 2 minutes of show, and I'd have been fine.
The animation was killer. The lighting effects, everything had a real solid, real feel to it. Even though it was in the the animation style of the Clone Wars, very like angular and the character designs and stuff. But like just how fluid the animation was and how good everything looked, like the rich deep blacks and the bright whites of the blasts and stuff. And then beyond that, just the ship that they drive around in, that's a
Yeah.
cool looking ship, man.
Yeah.
You got the 3-point things and they kind of folds in on each other when it lands and stuff. I can see them making
It's very Imperial looking.
It is, but it's cool looking.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, that's that. I mean, I thought that was awesome. I mean, outside of that, did you get a chance? I know middle of the week doesn't, bode well for a lot of people, but any luck doing anything else?
I didn't have the day off like you did. They gave you May the 4th off because they know you're
Yeah,
such a big Star Wars fan.
I got very lucky. May 4th fell on one of my 2 days off. So I sat down and I watched that and broke out my Baby Yoda Lego and put together like 4 bags of him. I almost got him done. I was to the point where I was looking at these Legos so much, I was starting to go cross-eyed.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, these little green Legos, I was like, I had to stop. Like I messed up something.
Right.
And it wasn't very big. I was just holding it as maybe just a few pieces, but I was like, I didn't even want to take it apart and back up. I was like, I gotta put you away.
You got to step away from it.
Yeah, but we were talking about this before we started. Say for instance, if this was a weekend and you had an opportunity, is there a go-to Star Wars movie that you would watch over everything else?
It used to be Return of the Jedi, but that was before that was even before like the sequel. I don't think I would go back to any of the sequel trilogy. I think it would probably be either original trilogy or a prequel trilogy at this point if I went with the Skywalker saga. But honestly, they've been releasing so many like ancillary stories now that are very good, like Mandalorian. Like how it'd be cool to just watch the first episode of Mandalorian again, or
Yeah.
the last episode, the finale of season 2, just to watch that all the way through again. There's so much out there now. Like when you actually turn on Disney Plus, and when you first bring it in, they have the banner, and normally they show a little thing of everything. Oh, here's the Mighty Ducks. Here's this. Here's that. It was all Star Wars.
It was all Star Wars today. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. So I mean, God, there's so much. There's so much you can watch. What did you watch?
I am very quickly falling into my go-to on May 4th
Mm-hmm.
is Rogue One. Rogue One is becoming my favorite Star Wars movie.
Oh wow!
And between the story and the final, like the way it ends, I like the finale, like the finality of it. Like
Yeah.
none of the characters actually make it out.
Right.
Like most of it's like everyone gets away happy-go-lucky and they move on to the next movie. These
Mhm.
characters are for this movie.
They're doomed.
Yeah, exactly. I love the planet they're fighting on. I mean, all of it. It's just the visual of it is
Yeah.
amazing. So I mean it was very quickly becoming my favorite. But I also visited one I haven't seen since I watched it in the theater,
What's
and
that?
I watched Solo,
Oh, okay.
and I wasn't as angry at it the second time around. Angry is a hard way to put it, but I love L3.
Yeah.
She's actually become a part. No, this is what I want to see them kind of integrate a little more within Star Wars, because as long as the Falcon's a part of the Star Wars, L3 is a part of the Falcon.
Yeah.
I would love to see her a little more, or if there's somehow they're able to pull her, her programming out of the Falcon and rebuild her, because I think
Right.
she is one of the best droids within Star Wars. But I mean that
They should have had in the sequel trilogy, given the fact that Rey was flying around the Falcon for they should have included some sort of L3 reference. I get that she wasn't a thing in the original trilogy because she just didn't exist,
Yeah.
In the universe she did, but as far as storytelling, she didn't exist yet. But that's what part of Solo that I actually did like. Like there's a reason that the Falcon was so special. It's not only because Han was an exceptional pilot, which he was. Han and Chewie were a great piloting team, but there was a reason that that Lando had such a hard time giving that hunk of junk up.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, why would Lando care to keep the that YT-1300 Corellian freighter unless it had something special to it?
Yeah, and at
So
the
that
very
answered
end,
that
when he
question.
lost it in the game of Sabak,
Yeah.
you've seen the pain in his face. You knew not only did he lose the Falcon, but he lost L3 too.
Right. And when we see him in Return and Empire Strikes Back, he's like, "What'd you do to my ship?" He's even still years later, decades later, he's still very protective of the Falcon.
Of the Falcon, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
I was watching that, and come close to the end of the movie, I seen a character that I went, "Wow, I didn't know she was in this."
oh,
Erin Kellyman. She's also in Falcon Winter Soldier. She was a super soldier.
oh yeah, with the red hair.
Yes.
Yeah, she was Carly in Falcon
Yeah,
Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Carly. Thank you. I'm blanking on her name for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, she popped you when she pulled her mask off. I was like, "Whoa, really?"
Wow, that's funny. Yeah.
I had no idea. So we have within this one Star Wars movie, there are connections to Marvel between her, Paul Bettany.
Right.
I mean, those two right there are within it. I mean, Emma Clarke is now coming into the Marvel universe as well.
She is, yeah.
So I mean, this one movie has got so many connections to Marvel now.
It's Disney cross-pollination.
Yeah.
Using the same actors. That's cool though that you spotted that. That's funny.
I was like, man, that's nuts.
So you enjoyed Solo the second time around. Do you think you'll watch it again next year for next 4th?
I don't know if I'll do that. I try to pick at least one I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely one I haven't seen in a while. I don't tend to go towards the original 3 though. I really, I think if I didn't watch Solo, I was probably going Phantom Menace,
Mm-hmm.
or one of the episode 1 through 3. So I kind of enjoy those. I still need, the most recent ones to bake a little longer. And I mean, Solo's baked enough for me that, I've only seen it in the theater. So
Yeah. Well, that makes sense because we've talked about this before. The prequel trilogy is home for you, I feel like, whereas the original trilogy is home for me. That was my big introduction and experience of watching the heck out of those VHS tapes of the original trilogy. You and your mom taking me to see, A New Hope special edition, and it hadn't clicked for you just yet. But I think you and I going to the midnight showing of Phantom Menace. And then each time, got Attack of the Clones, when that came out, you were like, oh, okay, Star Wars, that's cool. By the time Revenge of the Sith came out, you and I went with our own lightsabers in the audience.
Yeah. I
And
remember
then,
being in Dayton, that lined up in the hallway down by
yeah.
the Dayton Mall. Yeah.
And then the fact that Clone Wars is what recently set off your fandom, experiencing that with Zaki and how Clone Wars is nice and settled in between two prequel movies. I think the prequels is just home for you. Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan,
Yeah.
and, Anakin, and that. So I feel like that's what your go-to is. When mine is, it's all about that original, Empire Strikes Back and Yoda on Dagobah and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a very valid point. That's
Yeah.
probably why I go to where I go with it. Speaking of Yoda, though, the High
Republic.
High Republic. Thank you. They reference Yoda quite a bit.
Oh, so you're going through the novels, right? That
Yeah.
have come out.
Oh yeah, I'm through 2 of the novels, and dude, the Nihil are. I don't know what's going to become of them, but they have the ability. They've got one lady, which I think has some. I think she may have some connection to like the Chiss for some reason, because she has the ability to plot pass through hyperspace with no computer.
Oh, wow.
And there was a major disaster because that happened. There was a ship that they ran into, which then caused they shut down hyperspace and everything. It's too much to get into.
Yeah.
But I love how they're making the Jedi real in this series.
Right.
When it comes to struggling with death, like how they shouldn't mourn, but one is mourning someone dying, or seeing, or other Jedi actually dying in the book,
right?
Like in battle. Like it's not just like all the Jedi just escape, like on is it Camino? Not Camino. Where they found General Grievous and they all jumped in.
Oh, Utapau?
That may have been it. Yeah.
It's like that desert looking one. Well, not desert, but it had big cliffs like the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. So how they all kind of jumped in there and they basically all, survived. This one here, you're seeing them actually die within their like fighter off planet.
Yeah.
Well, not visually see, but it's happening. So they're not making them like almighty and all powerful. But I don't know, the struggle between some things, I can see them leading to another one of them falling.
That's interesting because as characters, the Jedi were honestly kind of boring and very stoic in the prequels. You got Yoda, like their whole thing was like no emotions, no feelings, more not, let's hold back, let's keep things in. Let's eat our feelings because that leads to the dark side or whatever.
That's the council. You have the council.
Yeah.
And then you have all the Jedi Knights and Masters who aren't on the council. So you see the back and forth. Like there's been times they've come to the council and they were like, well, they didn't say we couldn't do this.
Right.
Or they didn't forbid it. So I'm hearing Qui-Gon. Like I'm hearing other Jedis like Qui-Gon.
I was just going to mention that where Qui-Gon felt like the rebel. He felt like the David Bowie of the the Jedi Order during that time. Like just like to color outside the lines a little bit. And that's interesting. But we only got a little bit of him in the Phantom Menace before he was kaput. And then the rest of the trilogy.
This High Republic stuff, there's a lot. There's quite a few really powerful Jedis.
Yeah. That
will color kind of outside the lines. And they know if what they're doing, they were never told not to do, and they do it selflessly, and they go and get back.
Yeah.
They're like, we're not going to get in trouble with the council. Because they came back, and there was a Padawan that lost his master that went along with him.
Right.
And he's terrified to come back and talk to the council. And then the 2 masters was like, don't worry about it. We're fine.
Right.
It was interesting to hear that because we never got anything like that. So I would love to see a TV show, cartoon, movie, something based in this time frame. I know we're going to get to Acolyte, but I think it's going to become the time towards the end
towards
of
the end of
this.
the High Republic.
Yeah,
That's what they've said anyway.
Yeah, and that I'm looking forward to. I mean, the more I get into these books, the more I'm looking forward to that time frame because it's so interesting. And the Nihil are diabolical, and there's nothing dark side about them. And they've captured a Jedi. They have a Jedi captured with his lightsaber. And end of one of the books. And if you guys haven't read any of these, I absolutely say dive into them because these are fantastic. I'm getting pretty out there. So sorry, guys. I'm pretty jazzed about it.
I know when it comes to the novels, it seems to be like the one avenue where people are having a hard time, like kind of adopt. Like you've got to be a true blue Star Wars fan, like deep into it to start reading the novels. Especially, I mean, this is even like novels that take place during the time of the movies that we know of. Like this is as a novel taking place, hundreds of years, thousands of years before the
first
Skywalker
one that
saga.
I loved at the end. I had a hard time getting started.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm listening to it. I'm having a hard time because I don't know any of the Jedi's names. I have no connection to anything.
Right.
And then, about halfway through it, I'm going back. I'm enjoying it more. So for someone like myself that struggled for maybe the first, I'll say quarter of the book.
Yeah.
Someone that doesn't have the connection that I have to to the series may struggle even more. They may listen to a bit of it, put it down, and actually even return it back, say, to Amazon or something. Because I love the fact that they let you do that, but.
Well, we know it's coming, right? I mean, like stories that take place during this High Republic era, that's what's on the horizon for Star Wars stories. Comics, TV shows, movies, like this is the way that Disney, they capped off the Skywalker saga to, positive and negative reviews, right? They had the thing with The Mandalorian, which is cool and a nice introduction to their streaming service, but it still takes place around the Skywalker saga. Mm-hmm. I think this is where Disney wants to take, the whole Star Wars mythos into this past with introducing brand new stories in a brand new time without our familiar rebellion and empire, just brand new things that they can tell new stories in.
Before the rule of two.
Yeah, before all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they can really kind of just go crazy in this High Republic era. And, eventually, we're not, right now it's in the novels, but, eventually we're going to get movies, video games, comic books, TV shows that take place in this High Republic too. So that's cool.
Hey guys, I can talk about this for days, and I know Sean can too.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you guys tuned in for us, on May 4th here, it's this is our wheelhouse. We talk Marvel too, but Star Wars is, where our nerddom has started, and
you got to hold us back.
Yeah, this we can go on for quite a while here. But,
we can start talking and have it be Revenge of the Fifth in a few hours.
Oh man, but thanks for joining us here, Sean. Do we have anything? I mean, if they haven't joined us in the beginning, what do we do? Where can you find us? What's coming forward for us?
We're Dadnarok. We have an audio podcast, the Dadnarok podcast, that we release on all podcasting platforms each and every week, or mostly. Sometimes we may skip a week here and there, but you can find that on the Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, etc. We've got a YouTube channel. If you guys haven't found us there, or if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that. Go ahead and like this video if you haven't already. It helps us out quite a bit. But yeah, we review stuff like this. We talk about Star Wars stuff. We've had a Marvel Falcon and Winter Soldier after show. We did a recap show after each and every episode of that. And we'll do another one for Loki coming up here in June. So yeah, check us out.
Okay, guys. Well, until we see you, Friday or next Friday, or whenever we see you again, keep it cheesy.
May the 4th be with you.